Ok, ok, go, go, go. 13 slides. Comment est-ce qu'en 13 slides, ils peuvent tenir 10 minutes même? Ça, ils l'apprendront. Normalement, non, c'est pas bon, 13 slides, 10 minutes. Ouais, c'est pas du... Ok, ouais, c'est vrai. Ça va. Ok. Comment? C'est bon. Ouais, non, ça va aller. Oui. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Okay, I just want to recall you that you have 10 minutes for presentation. The clock is there, and Ali will make a sign to the group when you have 2 minutes left. Okay? Thank you.
So we'll start at 3:45. We'll just have a technical update. I can. Oh yeah, I can see there. Can I? But. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is William, and today we are proud to present to you one of the most potential space emerging country in the world, Indonesia. Indonesia, my home, is located at the southeastern Asia part of the world, just below Malaysia, and above Australia. It has a population of about 230 million, a little bit more than Brazil, and it is located at the equator line of the world, and it comprises about 1/8 of the world total equator line. The size of Indonesia is approximately about the size of the United States. From tip to tip is about the distance between San Francisco and New York City. However, the difference between Indonesia and America is that Indonesia is an island country. It comprises about 17,000 islands, which resulted in the creation of 600 languages due to the barrier of the people. Indonesia is a diverse and fragmented country, and because of its geographic disadvantages, it is difficult and expensive to connect the nation with lines and cables. Thus, Indonesia sees the earlier need to use space technology to improve the telecommunication infrastructure. In 1976, Indonesia has become the first developing nation to operate its first telecommunication satellite in a geosynchronous orbit. Indonesia also sees the importance of space technology to unite and develop the nation. However, as faced by all developing countries, big challenges arises to the development of Indonesian space program and policy. What are the problems and what are the opportunities will be further introduced by my friend Arvind.
Thank you, Williams. There are two governing bodies in Indonesia for space. One is the LAPAN, and the other one is the DEPANRI. LAPAN is the agency which conducts research and development in Indonesia, and the DEPANRI is the agency which formulates the general policy in the field of space and aviation. Both has been presided by the president, and it was launched in 1963. Indonesia has ratified all the major international treaties in 1967, 68, in 72, and in 1975. A memorandum of understanding was signed with Russia for using the airport on Biak Island in Eastern Indonesia as an intermediate air launch base. And another memorandum of understanding was also signed with India for tracking telemetry and command station for supporting Indian Space Research Organization missions. There was also cooperation with Thailand and Philippines to design the Asia Cellular Satellite System in order to meet the growing demand for handheld telephones. To join the MTC, the Missile Technology Control Regime, to promote peaceful use of rocket technology. Most of the satellites that has been launched by Indonesia fall under the class communication. The various uses are telecommunication, which is done by Palapa satellite, the remote sensing by LabSat 1 and 2, television and radio services, again by Palapa, direct broadcast TV and radio by Indostar, and the distance education program. The remote sensing activities include inventory of irrigated rice field, forest mapping and monitoring, mapping of sea surface monitoring, forest fire detection and monitoring, drought detection, flood monitoring, and identification of fishing zones. This graph shows the progress of Indonesian space over the years. You can see the various satellites that has been launched from 1976 to 2005, the Palapa series, the Indostar, the Telecom, and the Garuda one. This graph shows the mass of payload that has been increasing over the years, which shows that Indonesia has a capability to launch more and more satellites over the years. You can distinctly find that from the period from 1990 to 2000, there have been a lot of satellites that has been launched, but from 2000 and 2005, there has been a lag. Now I pass on to Rudolf.
Now that Arvind has talked about the space policies, we're going to look at the current status of Indonesia and its space program. In 1997, there was the Asian financial crisis, from which Indonesia hasn't recovered fully yet. And there's been a succession of disasters also. Terrorist bombings, Southeast Asian tsunami, and major earthquakes. Now it's important to note also that in 2004, there's the election of the first democratically elected president in Indonesia. And he promised to roll up his sleeves and tackle problems such as corruption, nepotism, and terrorism. Now I highlight corruption and nepotism, but these are endemic, and they've affected the space program. And the sum of all these means that deteriorate Indonesia's capacity to reach space targets. We can see these in the Indonesian Space Agency, where LAPAN does the research and development for peaceful purposes and is directly responsible to the president, whilst the Depanry Council, which decides the policies, is chaired by the president, which means that the president is basically the big boss of the space program, and how it goes will oscillate with his political needs. Not to mention that Depanry is only convened twice since 1963, and there's also overlapping functions and unclear regulation definitions within LAPAN and Depanry, which all these lead to inefficiencies in the Indonesian space program, which is a pity, because Indonesia started off as a pioneering space nation. In 1976, it was the first developing country to operate a satellite, and it was about to launch its first satellite in first astronaut on board a space shuttle in 1986, which would have been the second Muslim in space and the first Muslim woman in space, which shows that Indonesia was quite the vanguard of space in developing countries, space of developing countries at the time. But that was cancelled because of space shuttle explosion, and they haven't pursued having an astronaut, and the space program has been on decline ever since then. The 2006 budget is only $15 million, which is inferior to the Malaysian space budget, which is about to send an astronaut. And it's important to consider that Malaysia is a neighboring country, which is also developing, which is 10 times less population. And Indonesia has also been slow in building an equatorial launch base on the equator for launching. However, its private sector, it's been more successful. There's 2 satellite programs worth more than $240 million. There's 3 more satellites currently in the works. And Indonesia is the leader in the $650 million Asia satellite system project. And there's also been major investment by foreign companies in Indonesia, such as Dutch Telecom acquiring significant shares in the operator of Palapa series. And as Aravan explained, the payload launching is on the increase, which shows that the private sector of Indonesia is healthy. Okay, and Julie will explain.
We have 3 minutes to make a preview. My colleagues referred before about the problems and inefficient of Indonesia. And we're going to give some recommendations about the bureaucracy to solve the problem of bureaucracies and nepotism as the Indonesian space program become a successful space program. So first of all, we must have financial support from the public sector, and this means to put the national budget in the space programs as priority. Some people as politicians may think, why me to put the national budget there when my citizens, when my people in my country have not to it? But we know that the space program has a lot to offer in the society, so we have to promote. Secondly, we have to make campaigns through the national network that includes 11 national TV networks, and also through the national campaigns to educate Indonesian public about the benefits of the space. And this can happen through the school, as to make people to be skillful about the space, and also the public has to be informed about the space programs, as to know that is a useful program, and the culture, the society has to be prepared about the space program and accept it and not reject it. Provide cheaper access to internet. Yes, we need IT, we need information communication technologies for the society, as to become a better diffusion of information inside the society. And this can lead to a network society, which can lead to a better communication and globalization and internationalization. Last but not least, we have to promote space applications for Indonesia. First of all, we have to promote the GEO program, which can launch spacecrafts from other countries, and this can promote the business of the Indonesia, the competition, and the economy. Also, we have to promote programs which prevent another catastrophic natural disasters. I want to close like this, that the space programs in the development countries help the society, and they are not only technological oriented. Thanks, my team.
And with that, we would like to ask you any embarrassing question for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. And who wants to start the question? Yes, John, please.
I have some problems in getting the consistency between the space budget, which is only 15 million per annum, and the very expensive satellite programs, which are measured in hundreds of millions for Palapa and so on. The implication, presumably, is that these are purchased abroad, as the credit here says. So what's the state of the home industry? Has it made Lapsat, which you've mentioned? Has it made any of the latest Comsats? Or are they all purchased entirely abroad?
Yeah, so they don't develop the satellites themselves. Most of them are purchased. As regards to the organizations in the private sector, most of it is joint ventures, partly with the government, but mostly with private sector, because the government usually only takes about 30% stake or something like that, and most of it is either foreign or private funded. So no, Lapsat is the organizations like the NASA of Indonesia. Yeah. No. Okay. Sorry. Lapan. Okay. That's.
Lapan and TUB and Technical University of Berlin has made a kind of like a collaboration to develop its first collaboration satellite. That's not to be, I don't know whether it's being launched yet, but it's supposed to be launched in 2005, but it's still been waiting. It has been launched, yes. It has been launched, because I cannot find the confirmation that it has been launched. And so we are supposed to, that's our first microsatellite, and our plans in 2007 is to develop even smaller satellite with cooperation with other universities around the world. So that's the plan for Indonesian Space Forest Agency from Lapan. Is there any more question, please?
So I have one question, because you've mentioned that the space activities in Indonesia are focused on satellite communications. I would like to know, what is the national administration responsible for satellite frequencies assignment in Indonesia? Or in other terms, what is the national administration dealing with ITU activities, if you prefer? When you launch a satellite, you need an authorization to use the satellite frequencies. What is the national administration in Indonesia that delivers this license, this authorization? Who gives the, yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you. And the last question: do you think that Indonesia is a good example today for the use of space for bridging digital divide? Terima kasih.
Just to give you an example on that, I don't think it was highlighted here, but in the 1980s, Indonesia actually took part in a real satellite program that was run by the U.S. Department of Aid and International Development. And essentially, they linked 13 universities from across the country, many of them in remote areas, and basically set up courses that were taught, the same courses to be taught across all 13 universities. So it was the first project where it was mostly done by audio conferencing between the different universities and sharing and collaborating common courses amongst the 13 universities. Digital divide? Well, I mean, if you look at the use of internet or telecommunications, et cetera, in the Western part of the world as compared to that, it's the transfer of computer understanding and communication technologies to the southern countries, if you will.
And now we go from Jakarta to Mexico City. I have a plane. No break, sorry, no break.